So, Ricarda, all the way from Germany. I know you've said it like 5 times already, but thank you so much for taking out some time and doing this with me. I know it's what a 10-hour difference, 9-hour difference from US and Germany. So I really appreciate your flexibility and getting on with us on our channel, Bags2Riches. How are you doing?
M- My pleasure, and I'm looking forward to our conversation and what we can do for the biotech community with the knowledge that we
Abs
have or think we have. Yeah,
You definitely have more than me, so that's so I'm glad that you're here. And just to give a brief idea to the audience who are watching you right now, if you can in brief tell them about your biotech leadership, biopharma leadership that you have had, and what you're doing right now to help the biotech community, that'd be an awesome starting point for us.
yeah. Happy to do this. So, yeah, my name is Ricarda Fiddern. I'm German, and I have studied biology, immunology as well. And for me, it was always I want to use the science, but then for a purpose, really bringing new compounds, new medications to patients. That has driven me. And that's also why I studied biology. I did that also in Germany. And then I also really love to work with people, and I loved different cultures as well. So also one of my aims was I want to really work globally. I want to meet other persons, also see how other companies, but also countries, how people are really working and taking the science that's very common to all of us, but then to also, have some innovation, get some lead compounds and bring them into the clinic. That has driven me. That's why I also moved out of Germany. I did my PhD in Cambridge in the UK. I did a postdoc in San Francisco in the US and also one in Lausanne in Switzerland. So you see also I chose locations not just for the science, but also having a good work-life balance and also like learning more about different cultures. But already like for over 20 years, I'm back in Germany now because also my family is here. So perhaps that is a normal cycle for a lot of people also working in the sciences. You go
Hmm.
back to your roots, but of course you take all the experiences you have, you take them always with you then also for the next phases of your career. I've stayed a long time in academia, I have to say, perhaps different to other people who know already that they want to go into industry. I really wanted to work with science and understand the science. But I also have to say, after a while, when you move along your career ladder and become more responsible, if you like, also for the management and leadership of people, of programs, of investments, um, then I also saw, okay, it's about time to move into industry. And I think everybody
Hmm.
perhaps hits that point in their life, in their career. I think it's also the phases, it's absolutely fine. But then I realized, oh yeah, I'm ready now to go into the industry because I want to really make decisions, be closer to the decision making, to move something along the pipeline and not always stay with the basic science and then a new molecule, perhaps a new technology, but you only get to a certain point. So I moved into industry, and what I really liked at that time, I was already a group head. So you're closer to the decision making, and that company changed from a platform company to a product company. So really what I wanted, how to really develop a product, but technology, science is all behind it. And that was
Hmm.
really nice at this stage of my career to be allowed to go through this. Um, and then it comes, okay, if you really want to get medication to the patients and to the market, you also need the big players. And then I had
Absolutely.
the chance to really join a big pharma company. And I must say, I always thought this is not for me. Yeah? So I thought it's nice to get that experience, but then I will move on. But I was wrong. I mean, I stayed there for 12 years in a big pharma company. And it was so great to really have the opportunity to learn what it really means. So I'm the scientist, but what about whatever market access, patents? validations, the clinical trials or
Uh-huh.
so. You need so many more expertises to bring really something forward. And this is what I learned there. So it was really fantastic.
Absolutely.
And I'm really building on it. But I also felt like what I really enjoyed from my career is biotech. And that's why I also went back the last 5 years. And then again, you climb the career ladder or you focus on something. So the last 5 years, I was chief scientific officer, again also on a platform company, and I really liked it, and I really wanted to also see the transition then to the product company to move this forward. And sometimes things don't work out as you plan. And that's why I also in 2025 decided, okay, I'm gonna leave industry, but I want to be more a consultant,
Mm-hmm.
especially for startup companies that are taking innovation from universities or from the environment they are working in, and I want to help them to become a scale up also, because I think what we need is more the transition to the scale up. You need different expertises also at the table. And I think with all my experience, I can give something back, hopefully.
And I am very optimistic that you will. And thanks for the amazing overview because I know the flow of our conversation is going to be nitpicking on all of these stages of your life and
Mm,
what you learned from each and every decision that you made. So appreciate the overall picture that you have given to the audience. Now I'd like to take you back 25 years in the industry when you were still in
mhm.
academia, you're still doing the science, right? Did you always feel that you are going to be a leader in this industry, in biopharma, biotech industry, working for such giants and also leading a company during the tenure?
Yeah. Uh, I think I could not have planned it from the
Mm-hmm.
start. It sometimes also depends on what kind of environments you are thrown into. And then you see, like, if you can take over more responsibility, more accountability. And I have to say, for me, it came quite easily. I really
Mm-hmm.
loved it. I don't mind working in uncertainty or ambiguity. I can manage this quite well. It's perhaps a good soft skill to have. And I help with that also other people to feel
Mm-hmm.
more secure. And I always found you, I love to work in a team. And if it's interdisciplinary, I really like it. And I don't mind to take the lead, but I am always also cautious. There is a team. Everybody brings something to the table. Yeah. Could I have planned it? I don't think so, but I think it's just natural, intuitive, perhaps also sometimes. And then I take the lead. Yeah, I don't mind.
Right. No, that's awesome. And it's great because people watching it is like, okay, is there always a leader within me? Does it have to be within? And it doesn't have to be. It can go beyond it,
Yeah.
right?
It
So,
really can. And I think also here, if I may, it's great to get the opportunity to test yourself. And then if
mm-hmm.
you have a good mentor, and then you can say, okay, I tested because I don't know it. I have not been trained to be this. Can I take
Mm-hmm.
over more responsibility for a project or also for a team? And then we no, I need a mentor. I need some reflection. And it's also okay if I say I'm not ready yet or
Mm-hmm.
it's not for me, then I think this is a good way to just test it.
Gotcha. So, when you
Hmm.
were in your formative years, as in academia, as a scientist, what were the biggest lessons learned then, which you still carry on now that you're a leader and you have learned from them, but you still carry them with you? Do you have any such beliefs?
I think science is always the key, and you should
Mm-hmm.
understand the science. And I also like it that I, as a leader, need to understand not in all details, but I need to understand whatever the biology, the mode of action of a compound, or if it's production, I need to know the process. But I don't have to be the expert for everything in detail. I think also here, sometimes it's more like letting go
Mm-hmm.
when you then move into more responsible one, and to realize also it's not only my expertise that is needed or not only my skill sets. And so if
Mm-hmm.
I move something from the bench, I need a process to scale something, but I don't have to be a CMC expert, but I need to connect with these people who are experts. And then together we can reach the next phase. That's the most important thing. Yeah? It's very complex processes, different disciplines you need at the table. You don't have to be the expert for everything. Delegate, and a lot of communication. Now, do we speak the same language, use the right word, the same words also for the same
Hmm.
processes? But yeah, that is the biggest lessons learned. And yeah, let go.
Let go.
Let go and let others take over.
It's so difficult because I
Yeah.
was in this classroom session recently where the manager was there and also their, like the person who was leading the team also with them was there. And they were like, this was the situation. I know I'm a wrecking ball and I
Hmm.
wanted to go to this meeting. And I know this meeting didn't need a wrecking ball, right?
Hmm.
So I realized that this meeting needs a soft feather. That's why I let this other person go in instead of me. So I took a step back. And to me, I was like, that's a new way of thinking. If you're a leader, you don't have to take the lead all the time, but you need to also empower your employees whom you think would be the best fit in certain situations. So I think that was a
Yeah.
really good
That's
takeaway
yeah.
from what you just said. Yeah, it's amazing. And I know you have gone from doing the science to leading the science, right? So now that you have had so much experience, a majority of that you said in was in 11, 12 years in a big pharma industry, and you were also global program lead
Hmm.
for the same
For
company,
pharma projects. Yeah.
right? So when did you realize that you are moving towards being a leader, that it's going to be a central part of your life going onwards?
I think that was already after my PhD. I worked in a great team, PhD in Cambridge in the UK. So also really nice setup, international people there, and they all were there with the purpose. And
Mm-hmm.
then you feel, okay, then you have to work to be equal or peer level with all these bright people. And when I then moved on to my next position, that was really going then to San Francisco as a postdoc.
Mm-hmm.
My responsibility was also to establish the technology. And there I also realized it was very easy to step out, perhaps of the team level, and take over the responsibility and accountability. And I must also say, it doesn't have to be the title all the time, but you have to, yeah, I don't know how to feel it, so that it comes easy to you to say, okay, I have to look to the end. What do we really want to achieve? And then break it down again to, what has to be done by when, with which budget or so. And
Mm-hmm.
perhaps also moving to different countries, you always have to think about, I need a flat, I need a phone line or something. I have to do A, B, C to Z, and then I can stay there and live there. And perhaps
Mm-hmm.
that helps also for projects. You have to think, what
Mm-hmm.
do I want to achieve? Break it down to bits and pieces and then execute.
Yeah, never eat an elephant as a whole, always
Yes, yeah.
into small
Make good
pieces.
slices.
So, what was harder for you than expected when you stepped into such executive leadership roles? What you never thought of and it still occurred to you, which you were not
Yeah.
ready for? What were the kind of challenges?
I think what was something that I really had to make sure that I gain more expertise is all about funding and budgets. Because also here, as a scientist, you are planning experiments, but they do cost money, and the money has to come from somewhere. So there is also, if you take over more responsibility or you want to do a certain kind of work, you have to make sure that the funding is also there. And then you can, of course, also hire people. They can do whatever they need to do. So getting around the budget, it's one thing also to put it on paper, but then to make it happen that you really get this money. And it's
Hmm.
always also connected to a timeline behind it. And then you start thinking about, if you are already in industry, of course, they do have funding, but not enough perhaps. So you're also looking what other sources are there. So there's non-dilutive funding. So you're writing a lot of grants.
Mm.
And it's
Yeah.
often about that you can do the work that you think it's really necessary. And the more independent you can be, even if you're working in an organization, the more freedom you have to do the work
Yeah.
that you really love. Yeah. But it's for me, it was the financing, the budget,
The
talking to
financing and the budget.
investors, that learn that you have to talk totally differently to investors.
Yeah. No, they only understand the ratios and the ROIs and whatnot.
Mm, yeah.
This is a perfect, I think, the example You as a person who has so much scientific background and also trying to bridge the business gap. I know the person at the business level does not understand what goes into science.
Mhm.
And the people who are scientists do not understand how much money or how the finance works for a company or a business. How did those conversations work out for you? What did you do differently?
And I think also you have to realize, and you go through, let's say, not really fights, but you see that there is a clash of interests,
Right.
definitely. And then you have to reflect and really think about what's the cause of it.
Mm.
And then you also get to, yeah, know reading people, reading a room of people. How do you have to communicate? And I found always like if I understand where the other person is coming from or who is sitting opposite me, then I can adapt or I can
Hmm.
prepare myself differently, can anticipate perhaps also different questions. But yeah, sometimes it's learning by doing, and you go out of a room, you're really frustrated, and then you do the next round and say, okay, I have to present my case differently. And really, you have to do convincing.
Yep.
They have the power, let's say, of the money to really make your work happen. So yeah, and then you also see like what kind of relation can you build? Huh? It's all
Hmm.
about the business. Everybody has an agenda, perhaps also, if you understand that. And I think then, yeah, it's down to communication, but a lot of reflection and lessons learned, and then you get better. And then
Yeah.
you have a totally different personality opposite you, and then you start from scratch again, but that's okay.
It's okay. Oh man. So you said so many things. You have to have patience. You have to have this cross-functional understanding of things. You need to understand the agenda, propaganda of the person or the party
Mhm.
sitting across you. What are the skills out of this that you have recently covered when you're talking about which you were not formally trained on, but are very important when you try to go into the leadership roles?
What I think is there are a lot of soft skills, I think, that are really necessary to be in leadership. And I know you can do a lot of courses, and I like this agile one. That is perhaps also me
Hmm.
as a personality. I'm not the top down person, no, or command and control. That's not for me. That's not my personality, but it
Hmm.
works. And that is also something you have to learn. There is more than one way. There's
Hmm.
not black and white. It's not right or wrong. Different teams, different leadership styles. So also if you test yourself and if you are prepared to adjust yourself and not just say, this is my style, either you follow or else, I think that is very important. Stay agile. Think about also how the other persons are feeling, perhaps with whatever you want to achieve. There has to be somebody in the room, in the company who makes decision. This is also
Hmm.
something the team has to understand. And there are more reasons why you make decisions than scientific data. There's a pipeline, there's a strategy, there are investors. There's even a market behind it, the products or the patient population, competition. So it's very complex.
Hmm.
If you as a leader know more about it because you are dealing with the big picture every day, don't forget to really take the people with you on that journey. Make an effort to explain a bit more. And you also something you have to know, you will not satisfy everyone. And that is also not
Hmm.
your role. That
Hmm.
is okay. Yeah.
No, that's perfect. And I know because I see a lot of leaders on with the company that I'm with, they're always trying to, they always have a vision. They come in
Mhm.
really energetic, and those are the people that you'll really like to follow through whatever they're going. But also as a leader, there's so many things going on in your personal life. There's so many things that you have thought for yourself that you want to do in the future. How does that internal conflict works out when you are a leader and you are still having an internal conflict like, oh, I need to do this, I need to take care of my family in a way. This is not going well. How does someone manage those kind of
Mhm.
things? Because it always is there, really.
There is always there. Yes. I can also say, like, even when I went, yeah, becoming a leader, I was also a single mom of a little girl that you also have to take care of. So I know that there is always a conflict and you have to find a way. I think also the more you know about yourself,
Hmm.
what keeps you calm, and also take your time just for yourself, for your family, for the business. and try to find an equilibrium there. But it's easier said than done. Huh? And what I also learned, there are hectic phases, but they are only allowed to be phases. It cannot become the standard. If that is the
Hmm.
case, something really goes wrong and you have to take a step back. So I would also say take care of yourself, your first, and your family. Yeah. But it's really difficult for every person, and also find some peers that you can
Hmm.
talk to. I think this is also, and it does not have to be in the same company, with friends, with the network you have been building. Now you can anonymize it, try to find a circle of people that you can, yeah, ventilate, that are perhaps in the same position as you. Or,
Hmm.
and what I like is if there are people with different skills or personalities than I am. Because what I learned is also, and makes an extra step, I like it to have people around me business wise that bring something to the table that does not come naturally to me, and perhaps it's not my highest priority. Because if you have
Hmm.
friends, you think, okay, we are all roughly the same. But in business, I like it and do it really consciously to have different people there, because I think then we become better. But there's more
Hmm.
struggle. There's perhaps also more fighting. That
Yep.
different opinion, but I think it's a good thing. But yeah, you have to find somewhere where you feel secure, and where you can ventilate, talk about the stuff that is really driving you mad. Yeah,
And there's always such stuff. So I'm
there's
glad,
always such stuff.
and I'm glad you have people around you that you can talk to. And yeah, it's so important to have that self-awareness as well. Like
Hmm.
this is a problem. A lot of people don't even realize that
Yeah.
it's a problem. So having that self-reflection is a really big thing. So yeah, thanks for discussing that with me. I want to really switch gears and
Hmm.
talk about your CSO journey here. Now, I know as a CSO leader, you're leading a company, being a chief scientific officer. You have all these scientists who have like really high ambitions, like we can do this with science, this with science. But then you compare it with the operational and commercial
Hmm.
scalability, and then you have to make some tough decisions. How does someone navigate through such situations? Because I'm sure any company
Yeah.
being scientifically driven has so many ideas, but you also have to consider the real world problems, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
which is always there.
It is always there, and and you cannot satisfy anyone really here.
Yeah.
And this is what you have to live with. But for us, it was also, I have to say, like, we took a technology that was lab scale,
Mm-hmm.
and we wanted to even see, and there's nothing out there in this world that has ever done this with this technology, but to really scale it. And we wanted to set up a pilot line for it. So
Mm-hmm.
we didn't know which equipment to use that even would work, and that the product after the process optimization is still active also, because we did, I can say that also, we did a cell-free lysate from a plant cell, and then this lysate was used to produce proteins. So you can use
Mm-hmm.
this agnostically, and only the DNA that you add to it will determine which protein is being produced. And we wanted this lysate production be scaled. And
Mm-hmm.
again, like, yeah, nobody had done it before, but we said, like, we're going to do it. And then good things have to come together. So we got in a grant from the EU at that time, and we knew we had 2 years. We had
Mm-hmm.
the money for also setting up the pilot line for 2 years. So we had
Mm-hmm.
to be successful within 2 years. And I have to say, then also the pandemic started,
Mm.
even something you don't plan, you don't want. But this is it. And I have to say also here with the CEO and the initial hirings we really sat all together, said, okay, this is the process now. This is where we have to go. And this is what we have to deliver. And then we work backwards. Okay, what do we have to put in place? And also here, the difficult things is a scientist just works planning an experiment for a week, a month, perhaps.
Correct.
Here you had to think about, we have to buy equipment and there is
Mm.
delivering time. You have to check this now if that it's working. So there are so many different things that come to play actually to be successful. And I have to say, I think we had the right people at the table. As you said, we needed innovators, people that are not afraid, and had like this can-do attitude at that
Mm-hmm.
time. And we built this. But while the company is growing, you have to think, okay, what's my product? Now I need salespeople.
Hmm.
Salespeople and scientists, they talk different languages. So you have to bring them to the same level. And I have to admit also, we struggled a lot. And not every person is the right person for it. Some people don't like it also to work more in conflict. They want to stay in the sales bubble or the science bubble. So yeah, you have to do a lot of conflict resolution on the way
Yes,
to it, but a company is changing so dramatically from being just science driven to really then, as you said, the operational. You have production suddenly, you have sales people, you have the regulatory authorities that want something. And really what you have to think about, like you start with the science, but what does the customer really need?
correct.
Do they need your product? Have you ever thought about it that your customer really needs your product? And how do you tell the customer that it needs your product?
Also
So,
communication.
yeah, it's a lot of things you're dealing with, and then investment and all of this. And the
That.
nice thing for us, it was we had 2 years. And as I learned my
Hmm.
project management in big pharma, I think that supported us a lot, took us a long way.
That's awesome. And when you're doing all this, I'm sure the scalability and scaling a platform is it's crazy. What were the major challenges? I know you talked about a few, but when you talk about people underestimate certain challenges when they're scaling up a platform like technology that you were working on to promises to real world application, what do you think were the major challenges for you when you were trying to dealing with?
I think initially it was finding the right people. But if you have them that understand it, then they can be your multiplier for the other people that you are hiring. And I have to say there, we really found a great people that supported us so that, again, I could step back and let them do it.
Hmm.
That was absolutely fine. Also, at that time, we needed a lot of support from the suppliers. I mean, there is this little startup company, but big companies needed like vaccine production, but still they listened to us and made like equipment available for us. So that is also a support that you cannot expect or so, that you're lucky, but that also makes the choice of the provider you're working with. Can I fulfill my timeline? And perhaps before you had like 10
Hmm.
providers and then it narrows down very
That's down.
quickly. It's not your choice anymore, but then the timeline is driving it.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, but I think it came down to the people really. Yeah, you don't work 9 to 5, you work 24/7 for a while. Um, but you also get the reward out of it if something is working. And you know,
Hmm.
okay, we are building something. And once we achieve this, then there will be also a different phase again, and we can then concentrate perhaps on the science again, find new ways, or yeah, they will new people. But I think the biggest thing for a startup is that you need different functions at different times of a company's lifespan.
Hmm.
And there are sometimes tough decisions to make.
Absolutely. And that was my kind of follow-up question to that was when you talk about these scientific products and platforms, there's always certain kind of risk element to the process and whatnot.
Hmm.
So as you scale, how do you determine which scientific risks we are okay to take? And these are the risks that we are never gonna take for the business.
I think we didn't have anything what we would not do, but we knew like very easy, like if the lysate in our case is not
Hmm.
working for protein production, we have a failure.
Hmm.
And that is
Yeah,
a no-go. That is a no-go. And
right.
that is then we knew the steps, and any step could have
Hmm.
been a no-go for us. We knew that. And then we also said, let's say, limits. Now, what is our window of opportunity? Like,
Hmm.
when do we say no go? When it is still a go because we think then whatever with
Hmm.
iterations you can overcome something, or is it a no go at overall? And we had one process step also that had not been scaled where we were really looking for the right equipment. And we also
Hmm.
said if we don't find the right equipment, then this company cannot move on, or we have to go whatever, then have specially built equipment or so. But we wanted to make sure that everything can be bought off the shelf Because again, if you think of the lifespan of a company, we wanted to outsource also the technology. No? If we want to scale, we need a CRO or CMO who really can take over our process. So you don't want to have specialized equipment for a process.
Hmm.
We wanted to make sure from the start everything can be bought off the shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I know that when I was researching you, you have said, and I have this written down here. You said, test more, fail early, adopt fast. Now, what leadership experience have you had when you said that? And what taught you that you have to, you have to
Yeah.
have those lessons?
Yeah, that also comes like if I develop like a new medication or
Hmm.
if I have a platform technology. For me, it is always like if we look at the traditional way things have been done, it just takes too long. And often perhaps we don't take the right thing forward. But there is good reason why this is going to, because like established companies, they can manage that risk. They know
Hmm.
what it costs, they know the timelines behind it, they have talked to regulatory authority. So that all works and it worked for decades. But I'm always the person I want to bring change. I want to develop further. I want to bring something new forward. And we need different ways of developing, especially for medications. I mean, no
Hmm.
health system can pay for what we have done over the last decade. So again, with everything AI is doing, I'll just embrace it because this can be done. And also the platform technologies that are there. However, it's not enough to just have one technology. Again, I think you have to think with the end in mind. What do I
Hmm.
want to achieve? And then I need to test more. No, I need to test more, but I need to know what I'm testing for or
Hmm.
against for decision making. And I want to test more and move more compounds forward. So I have to be faster, cheaper, and have good assays for decision making. That's why I always say that test more, fail early. That's also, we always said like fail in a phase 1 study, not in the phase 3 clinical trial study. No? Just think about the time that's in there. So how can you do this? How can you improve and accelerate your discovery process, your development process? What do you need? What kind of tools do you need? And that I love to find solutions for.
That's awesome. And I'm glad you touched some point about AI. And when you talk about test more, I think the AI technology that we are having and it's changing right now, and a lot of companies are taking
Yeah,
it up
yeah.
really well. I know pharma sector is usually very regulation heavy
Hmm.
and we are usually slow to tech uptake and whatnot. But I'm glad that the companies have started to think in a direction that will allow them to reduce costs so much and using this technology. So, as you said, so from what you said, you like stirring the pot.
Yeah,
You like being uncomfortable, and you like people being uncomfortable
yeah,
around you. So, I know when you take such decisions, it doesn't come easy. This stirring the pot, making a change, it's always difficult for you, firstly, personally, to make that change, and also as a leader, giving that vision, letting the people see what your vision is, it's much more difficult to have that change. So, talk a little bit about this change management and when there is a major change in the culture that you have been working with. What kind of philosophy you have, and how do you manage those things?
yeah. Um, so for me today, I know that like for the you go through different phases. And perhaps when you know it, and that's why I say like think about the end and what you really want to achieve. And then you see also how the team has to look like, which expertises, which skill sets, which responsibility do these people have to take. And then I can break it down into phases, let's say a year or something, or to reach a certain milestone. And then you have to reflect for the next phase. Do I still have the same people? Did they grow? No, did you let them grow? Hopefully, and that you see the growth within the people, that they can see more the complex structures, perhaps, or the demands that there are, or that they have acquired more skill sets so that they can take over more responsibility. And I'm always for feedback sessions also with the team member. And I do that
Mhm.
more on a regular basis. So not a shock or something to people. suddenly if they are on the right track. And I said also at the beginning, like if I also saw that I had the chance to try myself, if that's something. And again, if it's not, then you are not a failure. And I think also here the reflection has to be there, and from the leader to the team member, but also the other way around. Huh? Perhaps I'm a good team lead for this phase of the company also, but for the next phase, I'm the totally wrong person.
Mm-hmm.
And perhaps somebody has to tell it to you, or you feel it yourself. And that is also for the team member you have. So sometimes I also tell team members, do you think you are still at the right place? Is that what you really want? And sometimes it is, oh, I have a job and I'm doing this. And yes, I like it, but do I reflect myself if I'm still at the right
Mm-hmm.
place or so? No? Can I develop as I want to, or do I just have to do work because there's a gap and
Yep.
I'm the only one here filling it? So that's why I think the communication also between leadership, team members is just key. And sometimes you have to make tough decisions and also tell the person, please reflect. Yeah, but if you're also coming to the same conclusion as I help you find another position or so. And it's not throwing out. And if you have a larger company, perhaps in a different department, fantastic match or so.
Mm-hmm.
But also sometimes, yeah, perhaps you have to separate, but keep the network. These
Right.
things are important, but yeah, you have to do this. And it also takes time, reflection, talking, and perhaps also
Any
experience, that you don't see that as a hurdle.
and I'm glad you touched upon one of the toughest decisions that you have made. I also want
Mm.
you to give an example when you have to make a really tough decision as a leader. How did you navigate through it? It can be with a person, it can be with a scientific trade-off that you'd have to make.
Mm.
But is there a circumstance or an instance that you can think of where you have to make a really tough decision personally as a leader?
Yeah, I had to, and I have to say, nobody can prepare you for it. So I must say, I was also lucky that at the companies I worked for, there were courses also if you have to go through this. But at least for me, it does not really prepare you when you're in a situation, because there's another human being sitting opposite you that also now has their own history or so. So even if you know the process you can go through, and yes, you have good arguments,
Hmm.
still, yeah. And I have empathy also for team member, but still the decision has to be made. So how do you take each and every person, for me at least so far, was always different. How do you take them on that journey now, so that they can still, yeah, be proud of what they have been doing and what they are also capable of, but perhaps not in the situation the company is for. And in the end, also a company has to survive. There are more employees. We have to make money. Yeah, and then you have to make tough decision. And I also always say, and I know if you're on the other side, you said, "Oh, what she's talking about, it's nothing personal." No, of course, I still like the people. So it's not that there's something, but yeah, a tough decision more from the strategic point. But I also had really that people don't fit into a team. That can also happen. You don't want to have team breaker. Or so
Hmm.
that you want to have a diverse team, so communication has to work. But sometimes you also have team members that just don't fit, and then as a leader, you have to talk about these things. They have to be addressed,
Hmm.
and then actions have to follow.
The actions. But now that you have been in the leadership roles for so long, when you look back, what are some mistakes that you have done and that you have learned from as a leader and that you still account for?
Yeah, I'm definitely have made wrong decisions, or perhaps also too late, and
Hmm.
perhaps also communicated not well enough. So I also think reflection there and say, well, I really made a mistake here. I should have said something earlier, or I did not see this coming. Also, why didn't I see this coming? Weren't there enough signs already to see it? And also, for me at least, also to learn when is enough enough, also for you personally. And,
Hmm.
I mean, you have your own vision, you have your goals, you have your
Yeah.
concepts you are living by also. But If you are in a team building something, you're so engaged and you give so much. And even if you start getting frustrated or so, you still carry on because you think there's a next phase. And this is also what I saw with myself, but also team members around me, if it's peer or whatever. When is enough enough? I think this is always the lessons learned for oneself. And it's always, yeah, when you've made the decision also, then I always saw you can live with that decision because you made it.
Hmm.
It's your decision. And that's a good thing. So decisions should not be made for me. That's always how I
Hmm.
felt. But again, when is enough enough? When have you given enough? And say, perhaps now it's time that I should leave or change or so. Yeah.
Yeah, back to the point of let go, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
When
Also
is the
for
point,
yourself. Yeah.
yeah, for
Yeah.
yourself or for people that you've been fighting this battle for so long, and to know, you know, there has been no positives about it. So when is the time when you say, okay, well, it's not happening, it's not working, I am
Yeah.
off, right?
Yeah.
And I love
Correct.
that you have worked in like four different countries now, right? And you have led multidisciplinary teams, you have seen different generations working together as well. How difficult it becomes for leadership to have these different perspectives, and how they say too many cooks in the kitchen
Yeah.
spoil the food. So how do can an effective leader work through these different cultures, different disciplines that they are leading? What are your thoughts on that?
I think first of all, you have to be aware that this is happening. That is, I think, the biggest thing. Because I was also say when I first went out, I thought, okay, yeah, I am now German with my background or something. I go to the UK. Oh, here I am today. I can also say, yeah, perhaps think about it. No? What is the mentality there? Also, and then later, also, then I found out there are tools even in the internet that you can check what's your personality and with which personalities do you work well, where you have to make more efforts if you're working in a global space. And once I found these programs and did these tests, I said, oh, yeah, it's obvious why it works so well there and why you have the feeling I have to put so much
Mm-hmm.
effort in the why is that the case. So being aware of this irrespective of which position you have, even if you go as a student or postdoc or
Mm-hmm.
something, I think this is so much fun really that you can have with that. But I initially had no clue about I learned it later and then I had aha, that's why. Yeah, but being aware of this, and you said also, yeah, having too many leaders. To be honest, I have not seen that to have too many leaders.
To have
It's
too many
not,
leaders.
no, no, no. I would love to see more women leaders, that is I can say, although I see the changes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I think also there people have to be given more opportunity, perhaps also, and that this is an
Right,
active process and not
right.
perhaps also more awareness about this.
So when you say we need more women leader in the industry,
Mhm.
what do you mean by that, and how is that gonna make a difference in the industry right now?
I can tell you, like in a lot of meetings, I am, and it
Hmm.
changes very slowly. I'm the only female.
Oh, really?
And
Okay.
I'm surprised that even in the 21st century, that is still quite often the case. I see changes, and also here it depends on which country perhaps you are also working with, where you're sitting. That changes, and I am in some women leadership networks also because I want to give something back and mentor. I also see women. And here again, it comes also now, what's my work-life balance? And
Hmm.
also, what does it mean, leadership also? Now, I think like you don't give up that you are a female or male also.
Right.
You just need skills. And again, there is a purpose, there's a vision that you want to transport, take over accountability. And
Hmm.
here also, I think if you have mixed leadership teams, it's a good thing. And if everybody then also is prepared, this active listening as a soft skill, I think is key. And yes, there are different styles, and it's okay if we then say what we really want to achieve. And I found also when you start working in a new team, address these points. No? Who am
Hmm.
I? How am I working? What do I like? What I don't like in communication with me? set this straight at the beginning and then say, yes, I know like everybody can bring something to the table and together we make it much, much better.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. But then also females, yeah, have to perhaps sometimes ask of it if they are coming into an established organization that has been running like this all the time. If you start in a startup, it's so much easier, no? Then everybody is new and you have to talk about how do we want to work together.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And one of the things that I really learned from when you were talking about that, and it was also an aha moment for me, is a lot of leaders that I have seen in my career, they really have the passion, one, for what they're doing. And second, they have this clarity of thought. They
Mm,
understand their priorities much better than other people. They manage their time much better. They manage their energy much better than other people. So that is the reason why they know themselves so well, and that is how they can communicate and also other people understand how they feel and why they feel like that. And which I feel is a thing that you learn over time in your career with
yeah.
experience, of course. So yeah, no, thanks for that. And I agree. There has to be a change in a woman leadership. I personally have seen it growing at
Hmm.
the place where I'm at. I see amazing leaders. They're all female leaders, and
Yeah.
I have
It should
learned
not
so much
matter
from them.
really.
It
Yeah.
should
Yeah.
not matter, actually.
It should not matter.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. And what I also want to, so when I do this podcast, I really want to empower people who are early in their career, right? Who are trying to maybe become a leader or be a better employee or be a
Hmm.
person who is following their passion and whatnot, right? So when you meet someone who is in early career, right? They are professionals, biotech professionals, biopharma professionals. How do you lead them, mentor them? What is the right way to do it if you want to do it?
I think you have to get to know like what kind of position they are in, what are the requirements for the position. So let's say more the
Mm-hmm.
hard facts that have to be there, and then understand what are the soft skills of the person and then where they want to go. And then it's sometimes it's really asking perhaps questions you don't ask yourself at that
Right.
stage of your career.
Right.
And I have some females that I'm mentoring going through this initial one. And then I think also reflecting on their situations, just being a mirror, just the neutral
Mm-hmm.
person listening to perhaps also examples of situations they are in. And I also think it's nice to say, okay, what is my path and how do I take my surrounding with me? Now, they
Mm-hmm.
first need to know that I want to become a leader. Have I ever voiced it? And don't do I expect that they see me like this? Because I know I never like this word, but visibility. Do I have
Mm-hmm.
visibility that I want to become a leader or did I voice it? And then, okay, what are steps? Can I take on some projects? Can I test myself? How do I do communication when I'm building a team or then following up on it? And how do I talk to the people with or without direct line management or so? Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of looking at the hard skills and also the soft skills and then
Right.
just say what you want.
Yeah. No. And
Yeah.
in your experience, what has like, and also the generations have changed, right? Now there are more Gen Zs, Gen Alphas, Gen X in the industry. How have you seen that mind shift change once, and what are the skills that they have and they should develop
Yeah.
now that they're coming into the industry?
Yeah. And I have to say, like, I have to find out what they really do because I like the young females in the Netherlands as an example.
Mm-hmm.
They have a really great way of taking leadership. They have the right soft skills, communication skills. And I mean, I'm living close to the border. So I then, when I visit them and meet them, I go back to just Germany or something and look at it. And I said, what is it really that is missing? And where is it trained?
Mm-hmm.
Where is it coming from? I don't have the solution yet, but I love it again to work interdisciplinary, interculturally, to just see there are females out there, they just have it. And you feel it also when they enter a room. And then you see others don't have it. And is it perhaps they are not aware of it? They haven't thought that far into the future. I have
Mm-hmm.
not found out yet, but I like it then to say, okay, I bring you together. You
Hmm.
should talk about also how you're doing things, and perhaps each one can learn.
Okay. And according to you, what are the three top, let's say, what are your top three skill sets that a leader needs to have in order to be successful?
Good listening skills. I think dealing with ambiguity, uncertainty. I think instilling trust. These are the soft skills. On the business side, yeah, you have to understand the business, the market, the customers, the financing, all of the above.
All the fun things that scientists never think about. And it is
Exactly.
it is so important, right? And I'm not sure if there is an interdisciplinary course that allows scientists to think in a way as a leader, and not just as someone who design experiments and run the experiments for good results, right? So how do we do things differently in order to empower people to be better leaders?
I think we have to be good role models. And I think a podcast like this, communication, going to conferences, and also monitoring, shadowing people that you think, oh, they are a role model for me. I would like to be like this. I want to take bits and pieces perhaps and put them into my personality.
Hmm.
And I think also here, ask for it. Reflect on your situation if you're still happy or if you want to take more responsibility, accountability in a different way. Because as you said, at university, I did not get that training. Today, at least, there are like innovation professorships or so that should bring more this entrepreneurial thinking. At least in
Hmm.
Germany, it's better. It's getting better, much better than when
That's
I was
good.
at university. Was a long time ago. Other countries are better already, and perhaps don't be afraid also to do that step. Huh?
Hmm.
Don't worry what if I'm, and what is a failure? I mean, define failure. Huh? You learn so much, whatever you're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yes. There's no failure.
no,
The only failure is when you fail and you still don't learn from it, in my
yeah,
opinion.
that's what I think too. Yeah,
If you make the same mistakes again and again,
again,
that's where you're not getting it. So
yeah.
no. And this was an amazing conversation, and I just want to quickly reflect back on the things that we have talked about. When we, so for example, if you see me getting into a leadership role soon, what is your 25 plus years of experience in biopharma industry gonna tell me as a leader? What are the things I need to be actively working on and being focused on?
Do it. Monitor the the vision or mission that you have to fulfill.
Hmm.
What is your task or something? What is your also room of growth?
Hmm.
Who is involved in this? Now, whom do you really need? What kind of people are there? Now, are you bringing new people on or are you taking things over? Talk to them. Also, what's working for them, what's not, and then
Hmm.
sit down and say, okay, what's my story now? I need to tell. And how do I take them on this road to success with me? And how do we want to communicate? And when do we check in? Because I think also don't think too far into the future. You need to know what you want to achieve, but then break it down to inflection points and what is a go or a no go.
Hmm.
Define these things because otherwise, you can go in circles and circles and circles. You don't want this. That has to go. And so it's up to you also to do a lot of reflection,
Absolutely.
but it's going to be so much fun because on the personal level and also whatever product development also you want to do, bringing these things together, I think it's very rewarding, and have
Hmm.
some mentors that you can talk to.
Yeah. No, having a good mentor is, I mean, people
Mhm.
talk about mentorship and having a good mentor, but finding a good mentor is
Yeah,
no easy task.
yeah,
Some
yeah.
people get really lucky if they find it pretty early in their career. I'm lucky to have a great mentor
Hmm.
who
Good.
is on
Yeah.
site, and they understand me like no one else, and they understand my strengths, my weaknesses better than anyone else on the site, right?
Mhm.
So I am very grateful that I have found one, but I really push everyone listening to this podcast even to go out and find that person who has believe in you. They believe you, And only that belief can push you so ahead in life that you would be unrecognizable in the upcoming few
Yeah.
years of your career. So
Yeah.
it's very empowering to have that, and I hope everyone is lucky enough to find them. So thank you on touching on that point. And I want to close this with my last question, Ricardo, to you is I know your goal is to give back to the biotech community, right? What are you doing to do that
Mhm.
right now? And what is the legacy do you want to leave behind for the biotech community?
Yeah. So as I said at the beginning, I'm now working more as a consultant,
Hmm.
giving something back. For me, it is really being also back in Germany. It is like having a startup. It's okay. Huh? There's so much innovation coming, but to give something back, because I have seen what is the end that you really want to achieve, and just talk about things that you have to consider. And there's a lot of front loading so that you don't, yeah, get stopped or something, and that could be finance timeline wise. So this is something I want to give back at, let's say, harder facts, but then also to give yourself space as a person also to grow.
Hmm.
That is also important, and that this whole thing is also, yeah, it's rewarding. It makes you grow, and also here this growth also has a reflection to your personal life again as
Hmm.
well, so you're also growing there. So I think, or I hope, that that gives a lot of push also and satisfaction for the people. I also said, like, at my age, I really would love to have one more compound to bring into the clinic.
Of
I
course.
I also thought, like, why not retire or something, or do something else? But I thought, like, this, I would love to go through this again. And I want to do this because there's so much new technology out there. And we only touch briefly, like,
Absolutely.
on the AI or something. And as I said, no, test more, bring something that you really believe on into the clinic again, that it can benefit a patient. I think I want to do this again with the knowledge I have today. There's still a lot of learning, of course, but perhaps also I can give something back and show others also what to think about, and also give them my network that I have. Somebody else
Definitely.
should use it in the future.
No, that's it's really kind of you. And with all the conversation that we have had, I think you perfectly fit into the thought leadership category, a
Thank
servant
you.
leader, which is really rare to find, and it's very important to have. Excuse me. So a leader like you working with a company. So I appreciate all the thought that has gone into this, and thank you for being so open to have a conversation. I'm pretty sure it's going to empower a lot of people listening to you right now, and we hope to reach more and more people like that and empower them as we go on in our lives. So thank you. It was an incredible conversation, Ricardo.